welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and today I am back to do a book unhaul, quite a large unhaul actually. I have been desperately running out of space on my bookshelf. I have a system where I have this bookshelf behind me is for all of my read books, and I have a smaller bookshelf in the living room for my unread books. That's not really a lot considering the amount that I read. I do read a lot from the libraries, so I don't own all of the books that I read, but it basically means that I can only keep books that I really love, and that's kind of what I want to do anyway. I don't want to just collect books that I've read for the sake of it. I want the books that I have on my shelf to remind me why I love reading so much, and for them all to be books that I have really enjoyed. But one of the issues with that is that I have already gone through multiple times and unhauled books that I haven't loved, and I'm at the point where I need to make some tough decisions. I could buy another bookcase, and I probably will at some point. At the moment, the house that we live in is quite small, and I don't think we're going to be here longer term, so I don't really want to buy another massive bookcase and then move and not have room for it, because I don't know where we're going to be living longer term. So yeah, I went through and I've been really brutal and picked out some books that I don't feel like I need anymore. There are multiple reasons. It's not necessarily just that I didn't love them, it's also I've kept some books that I didn't absolutely love, but they're books that I think I will reread at some point, or that I've not finished a series and I think I would like to go back to, or books that I really like the edition of. And also sometimes I think okay, I quite enjoyed this book, but it's a fairly new release. I could probably get a cheap copy in a charity shop if I ever decided in the future that I really wanted to read it. So it's not that I have not liked these books, it's just that I have to make some tough decisions. I put them all in this massive Aldi bag, so I'm going to take them to the charity shop. I don't really think that there's much point in selling books online, because none of these books are special editions or anything. It would probably cost me more money in postage and a lot of time and effort than I'd actually get for the book. So let's start. So yeah, this is in no particular order, but firstly, a book that I did enjoy but I just don't think I'm going to pick up again is The Summer Book by Tove Jansson. Tove Jansson is the creator of The Moomins, and she is a Swedish-speaking Finnish author, I believe. So this is translated from Swedish, but she is Finnish, and this is a very short book that sort of follows a grandmother and her granddaughter on an island in the summer in Finland, and it's quite cute. I think it's actually based on her life with her grandchild, there are photos in it, but it is a novel, and yeah, it was just really cute. I then picked up the winter book, which was short stories, and I didn't really like it, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I think I'm going to get rid of this, because I enjoyed it at the time. I don't really think she's written too much other stuff apart from the Moomin books, so I don't really feel like I'm going to collect any of her books, and yeah, this is one that I just think can go, and I'm sure I can pick up quite easily. This is one that I bought in a charity shop originally, so it can go back to the charity shop. Another one that I bought in the charity shop, and again did quite like at the time, is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey. One of the reasons why I'm getting rid of this is I don't really like this edition. It's like the movie tie-in cover. This is an American modern classic that is set in a mental institution, and we follow the main character. It says he's half American Indian, whom the authorities believe is deaf and dumb. The language is very dated on the back of this, and yeah, it says the mental institution is ruled by a big nurse on behalf of the all-powerful Combine. So yeah, this is sort of about the state of these sort of health facilities in America in the 60s, and it was good from that point of view. There is the nurse in this is horrible, it's so sexist. She just keeps talking about her boobs all the time, so yeah, didn't really love it for that. Don't think I'll reread it, and don't like this cover, but it's not that I disliked the book. I thought it was interesting, just not what I'm going to reread. One that I picked up because I had never read any of the writing and I wanted to try it out is The Psychopathology of Everyday Life by Sigmund Freud. Freud is one of these people. He's like a household name. He's made it into pop culture, so I wanted to see his writing firsthand. I don't think that this one is one of his best works. It's maybe an okay place to start because it's very basic, but I kind of got the point by like a quarter of the way through, and then I was just bored. So yeah, this is sort of about like Freudian slips, and you know, he basically just thinks that everything relates back to sex, and yeah, I'm sure he has more interest in philosophies, but it's basically him interpreting what patients come to him and tell him to work out the meaning of like what's going through their head. But yeah, most of it's sexual, and yeah, this was fine, but I'm never going to reread it. If I was going to pick up more of Freud's work, I would definitely never come back to this. A book that I bought just as it came out, mainly because of the cover, is Mona by Pola Oloixarac. This is a book from an Argentinian author, I believe, and it's about a writer who goes to a writer's retreat in Sweden, and sort of weird things start happening there. It's a very, very short book, and I just this is one that I didn't particularly enjoy, but I kept it because I really liked the edition, and I never buy books new when they've just been released, so I spent about, I don't know, £14 on this. £13 on this, and yeah, I was like, I don't want to get rid of it, it's really pretty, and I spent a lot of money on it, but that's stupid, so it's going. A book that I thought was okay, but just a bit underwhelming for me, was Bastard Out of Carolina by Dorothy Allison. I just for some reason thought this was a book that I was going to absolutely love, and I liked it, but I didn't fall in love with it, and it was ultimately quite forgettable, so it's gonna go. This one's about a young girl growing up in sort of an abusive family. She has been neglected, and it's about her sort of as a young child and teenager, and yeah, I can't really remember anything about this. I read it a few years ago. I'm never going to reread it, so it can go. Like, again, this is quite a pretty book, and I bought it new, so that's why I've held on to it for so long. A book that I liked at the time that I read it, but I don't think I would like if I reread it now, is A Concise Chinese English Dictionary by Xiaolu. I read this, I want to say like 7 or 8 years ago, and I liked it at the time. It basically, this is a book about a Chinese woman that moves to London, and she is learning English, and so at the start of the book, the English is very broken, and then as the book goes on and she's spent more time in London, her English gets better and it becomes more eloquent, and she meets a man and it's about their relationship. I didn't really like the love story element of this. Like, I thought it was okay at the time, but reflecting back on it, I don't think it was anything special. I did like the way it played with language, but I ultimately think if I read this one again, I would really not like it, so it's just gonna go. One that I read a couple of months ago, and I didn't like, it was okay, but I definitely won't be rereading it, is by Grand Central Station, I Sat Down and Wept by Elizabeth Smart. This is a very short sort of novel about a woman that falls in love with a married man. It's very, very poetic writing, but it just didn't really connect with me. This is one that I picked up free at my work. I work in a hotel, so sometimes guests leave books, and I was like, oh great, I'll take that, but it can go. I will never reread it, I don't think, and if I do, I'll just buy a new copy. A book that I, again, really thought I was going to love but didn't so much is America Is Not the Heart by Elaine Castillo. This I have kept for so long. Like, I read it a few years ago, and as I say, I didn't love it, but it's quite a unique perspective. It's about a Filipino family living in America, and I never really read from that perspective before. I thought it was really interesting the way it really delved into Filipino culture, but I found the pacing odd. I didn't ultimately love the writing. I wasn't that connected to the characters, and yeah, I don't know, I've held on to it thinking that maybe if I reread it I would get more out of it, but like, realistically, I don't think I'm going to do that, so again, this one can just go. One that I read last month that is honestly too big for me to keep unless I absolutely loved it is Kushis Dart by Jacqueline Carey. I will link my October wrap up where I talked about this massive fantasy book. This is the first in the trilogy. I'm definitely not going to continue this series, and it's over 800 pages. No room for it, so it's just going straight away. I also don't like the cover of this one, so this is quite an easy decision. A book that I read earlier this year and really didn't particularly enjoy is Embers by Sandor and Marai. I thought I was going to really love this one. This is set in a hunting lodge in Hungary. It's a modern classic by a Hungarian author, and it's about these two men sort of reflecting on their past, but I found it very predictable, and it was like, it doesn't look that short, but the writing is massive, and it was almost so short that I was just like, I don't really get the point. I could see where it was going a mile away. I did quite like the writing style of it to start with. I thought some of the descriptions were very nice, but very quickly it lost me, and I will never reread this one. A book that I wish I had just DNF'd is The Women in the Dunes by Kobo Abi. I read this year as well, September, I think, and this is a Japanese modern classic about a man that goes to the desert to look for bugs, and then he gets stuck there helping this woman, and there's a lot of sand. It's very misogynistic. I really didn't like it. I wish I had just DNF'd it, which is a shame because, again, this is a really pretty book and I would like to keep it, but there's just no point, so it's going. A book that I'm not, this is the one that I'm not sure about, is Art and Lies by Jeanette Winterson. I started to read this and DNF'd it in August or September, but at the time I thought maybe I would pick this one up again, but I did read about half of it, and I don't know if I wasn't in the mood for it at the time, which is why I'm thinking maybe I will hold on to it. But then on the other hand, I think if I've already read half of it, am I ever going to want to go and pick this up and start reading it from the start? Probably not. But yeah, this is about a near future London where Sappho, Picasso and Handel each find themselves on a train. I didn't get any of that. I had no idea what was going on in this. I was like reading and reading and reading and the words just weren't going in. So again, I'm like, should I just get rid of it? I think probably, but again, it's really pretty, so it seems a shame. And I got it for my birthday this year, and yeah, I wanted to love it, but I didn't. Another October read that just wasn't for me is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. I wanted a creepy book. This was a creepy book, but it didn't really do what I wanted it to do. I found the narrative like very straightforward. I found the characters sort of like cookie cutter, nothing particularly interesting going on in it, and I just didn't really care. So I'm definitely not going to be keeping this one, unfortunately. I got this one from a charity shop, so again, can just go back to the charity shop. A book that I'm just getting rid of because I don't really like this edition, and I think that in the future, if I was going to reread it, I would probably buy a nicer edition, is Hangar Abi by Jane Austen. This is my least favourite Jane Austen that I've read so far. It's sort of her take on a Gothic romance, but it didn't really work for me. I liked the first half of the book, the second half lost me, and yeah, this one, I don't know, I just really don't like this cover. I own, I want to say 3 or 4 Jane Austen books, and they're all in different editions, and one second, I'll show you the one that I have Pride and Prejudice in is the one that I would buy them all in if I was going to own a set of them, so I will show you. This is the Vintage Classics Pride and Prejudice version, and they're all really pretty, so if I ever do decide I want a full collection of Jane Austen's works, I will buy them in this edition, so the other one can go. I do own Mansfield Park and Persuasion in editions I don't like, but especially Mansfield Park I did really enjoy, so I don't want to get rid of it. Persuasion I did like as well, but it's one that in the future can maybe go. A book that, again, I was like, not sure about this one, but it's taking up so much space in my bookcase, is To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. I mean, my mum bought me this as a hardback when it came out because I did like A Little Life when I first read it, and I enjoyed The People in the Trees. So I was I was interested to read this. This is a book sort of split into 3 sections. There's one that's in an alternate past, one in an alternate present, and one in a future where there's a pandemic going on. I liked this book. I didn't hate it. A lot of people were really disappointed by it. I like Hanya Yanagihara's writing, but this one is so big. It was taking up so much space on my bookcase, and I first read it, well, when it came out, which was maybe 2022, January, and I have no real inkling to pick it up again. Again, this was a popular book when it first came out, so I reckon I could buy a copy in a charity shop if I decided I really wanted to desperately read it, but I don't feel like this is one that I need to own. One that I read last month and didn't really like is Swords Point by Ellen Kushner. I thought this was a weird sort of fantasy medieval towny type book. It didn't really make much sense plot wise, and I didn't really love it, so this again is an easy one for me to get rid of. It's also like a bit a bit torn up as a book, so I got it second hand and it can go back to the charity shop. A book that I quite liked but I've never really thought about since is Waiting by Ha Jin. This is a book set in communist China and it's sort of a love story set in a work camp type thing. I quite liked this. I thought that the characters were quite funny. It was set in quite an interesting period of time. But yeah, it's just not really one that stuck with me. I sort of kept it because I quite like the sort of vintagey looking cover. But yeah, realistically, don't think I'll ever reread it. So it needs to go. I sort of feel similarly towards this book. This is Dominicana by Angie Cruz. I had heard a lot of like really not very good things about this book before I read it, and then when I read it I was pleasantly surprised. But reflecting back on it now, I think that I thought I liked it more than I did because I'd heard lots of negative things and it sort of faded. I don't think I'll reread it. This is a book about a young girl who moves from the Dominican Republic to New York, and she marries a Dominican man that's living there, and it's sort of about their abusive relationship. It's told in vignettes, like all of the chapters are very, very short, and again, this was a very popular book. I think if I decided I wanted to reread it, I could quite easily get my hands on a copy. And yeah, I've not really thought about it very much since. This was shortlisted for the Women's Prize at the time, so there was quite a lot of hype around it, which is why I bought it, I think. But yeah, it's just one that I think can probably go. We're down to the last 5 books. One that I bought this year on a second-hand book website is Queen Lucia by E.F. Benson, and I don't know what the hell this copy is that they sent me, but like, look at that, that's hideous. The text is tiny, and the book, like, this is a normal book, the book is massive. So yeah, I ended up listening to this on audiobook because I couldn't face reading it physically because it was so ugly. And it was okay. It's about this very small town in England. It was written in, I think, the 1920s, and it's set about that sort of time, and it's about this woman, Lucia, who is sort of the queen bee of the town, and someone new is moving into town who's maybe going to take her throne. So she's not happy, and yeah, it's sort of like quite a funny small English town vibe. It's the first book in a series. I've not really thought about it very much since, so I doubt I will continue the series, but if I ever was going to, I would not reread this book in this edition because this is the worst book I've ever seen, so again, it will go. A book that I bought because I really like her husband's work is Welcome to America by Linda Bostrom Knausgaard. I have read all of the My Struggle series by Karl Ove Knausgaard, and I wanted to see what his wife's writing was like. I believe she is now his ex-wife. He talks quite a lot about her struggles with her mental health in his series. She is bipolar, and so I wanted to see what her own writing was like. This is about a young girl who has stopped talking, and I read this year, and I honestly can't remember any more than that. It was very, very short, and I found it fairly forgettable, and I will never reread it. But yeah, I don't really think there's anything particularly similar between her and her husband's writing. I don't know why I thought there would be. But yeah, I didn't fall in love with the book that I thought was fine. I did like it, but I had really high expectations, is Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders. This book won the Booker Prize in 2017, and I had heard amazing things about it, and I have read and loved some of George Saunders' other writing, especially his non-fiction book Swim in the Pond in the Rain. I absolutely loved, but this I thought was okay, but I just didn't love it. I think he's playing with form in a very interesting way in this. There's like lots of dialogue that's written like a play. It's about President Lincoln's son who has died, and he goes to the Bardo, which is sort of like a purgatory type thing, where people stay in limbo before they go to heaven. And it's normally because people have unfinished business on Earth. So we meet a lot of different characters that are in the Bardo, and it's quite quirky and funny. But yeah, it didn't really resonate with me, and I've held on to it for such a long time since reading it, but I definitely think it's one that can go. A book that I've had for, I want to say 15 years maybe, is Margaret Atwood's Orcs and Creek. My dad bought me this when I was a teenager, and I didn't read it until maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and the reason why I've kept it is, well, one, because I have that memory of him buying me it. It's probably like one of my oldest books that I own, because I've not really kept any books from when I was a kid, or if I have, they're not in my house. But yeah, I really like the like underneath cover of this. It's like these glow in the dark rabbits. This is the first book in Margaret Atwood's Mad Adam trilogy, and I've read the first two. It is sort of a post-apocalyptic dystopian series that I thought was quite good, but I don't think I will ever read the third book, and I don't think I will ever reread the first book. Like, I'm just not that interested in going back to it. I went through a period of quite enjoying Margaret Atwood as a writer, but she's definitely not one of my favourite writers. I'm not in any rush to read any of her other books really, so yeah, I think that this one can go, although I do have nice memories of this book. But yeah, I really don't want to hold on to books for sentimental reasons if it's not something that I think I will read again, because I would like other people to get enjoyment out of them. And lastly, I have Slaves of Solitude by Patrick Hamilton. This is a World War II sort of comedy drama type book that I read earlier this year, and I thought it was decent, but it's not the sort of book that I will really reread. It's set in a boarding house during World War II, and we follow all of the different characters that are living there. Yeah, I don't really, like, this one's hard to explain why I'm getting rid of it. I just have a feeling that I'm never going to pick it up or look at it again. I thought it was quite good, but I don't have any like really strong positive memories towards it. And space is tight, so yes, I think it can go. So yes, that wraps up my unhaul of books. I feel a lot better. I have like a half a bookshelf left, which is not that much. So I'm going to need to address it again soon. I'm trying to not buy any new books before the end of the year, because my TBR bookcase is also full to bursting, and yeah, I have no space for anything. So this is a short-term fix, and I will reassess maybe at the start of next year. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books and if you enjoyed them, or felt similarly to me, and yeah, I'll see you again in the next video.